You guys have become familiar.
Good.
We're good.
Yes, we're good.
We're good. Okay. All right. Different music.
Okay, I like it.
Yeah. See, Keshia just knows, man. She just knows.
Feel it. Nice
Mixing it up.
Uh-huh.
Man, one of these days I'm gonna get back on my turntables.
Setting the mood,
You know,
relaxing the vibe.
that's it. We make sure we're vibrating
On the right levels.
the right frequency.
Oh yeah.
All right. Let's get it popping. Let me act like I know how to use my equipment. It's a problem. Welcome. Episode 3, season 3 of the End Podcast with my co-host,
Jerry Franklin Poe.
Yes, and we have someone. She came back.
Back.
That's right.
What speaks a lot to the first time not being scary, huh?
No, it was all right.
It was all right.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit. See? There we go. Well, welcome back to the End Podcast. I'm happy to have you guys back here, whether you're watching or listening. Just a blessing to be back. And I invited Keshia back because, well, Keshia, you got to go back and listen to the first episode of season 1. On the path that Keshia was on. We had a lot of fun, right?
Oh yeah.
And between that time and now, things have kind of changed, right, Keshia?
Yes, it has expanded quite a bit. Been helping a number of folks and had some major epiphanies into what I'm doing. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm going to start with Jerry, right?
Okay.
Because you watched the episode.
Yes.
What did you pull from the interview with Keshia?
A couple of things. One that stood out for me was the part of the conversation where you interjected spirituality and religion. And I thought it was interesting because it seemed like there was a conflict, but in my mind, there was no conflict. So I thought that was interesting.
Okay.
The other part I found intriguing was her being able to see what was going on with, it was Angie?
Yes, Angie had ass.
Yeah,
My
Angie.
girl.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Love
Be able,
her.
be able to pick up, see what's going on with her and send her energy. I thought that was really fascinating. And I was just curious to see where the updates were. I know you were there was a podcast in the works and a whole bunch of other stuff. So it was a lot of great information. But those are the two things that stuck out for me.
Okay. Yeah. And like the primary reason for Keshia to come was she had a book
Right.
that she published, right? She
Open, right? Open?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah. See, and at the time, can you remember back then, Keshia?
No.
I mean, where you were, I feel like at that point in time, you were still you were trying to figure out the path that you were on, like, because it's almost like you're Superman as a teenager, and your powers are starting to really become prevalent, and you're trying to figure it out. Like, you can do these things and whatnot, but not necessarily have full control. I don't want to say full control, like you're out of control, but you're just kind of trying to get to the point where you're approaching mastery of it. And so it was like a lot of like, hey, this is what I'm doing. But now you're just a gangster, right? She's just a gangster with it. So, do you feel like you're a gangster with what you're doing now, or are you still kind of figuring it out?
Yeah. In regards to that, I do remember where I was. I was thinking in regards to this podcast.
No.
Okay.
Forget
All
this
right,
podcast.
cool. Okay. So the last time I was here, it did feel like, okay, I'm opening up, and I knew what I was doing, but I felt like it was so many missing pieces, putting them together. And between the COVID, a lot more people needed help. A lot more folks were going intra, and they were trying to do holistic care. So I was able to see more people. And then I speak with Brandon a lot, so I was like,
Right.
I was telling him. So for me, my spiritual path was that I received a lot of downloads, and that's what the book Open is about. It was about all the downloads, me receiving information, going through experiences, not necessarily traveling the world and or studying like energy healing or studying the different aspects of spirituality, the dark night of the soul, and all the coded words that are out there now, but just living through it and then coming out of it. And through that, and I believe it was with a session with you that
Yeah.
the epiphany came to me what it is that I'm doing. So
Yeah.
yeah,
That happened last Tuesday.
yeah,
Last
Wow.
Tuesday.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
right.
A new breakthrough.
A bigger breakthrough. Yeah. So I had named my healing modality Ancient Light. And even then I was like, that was just the name I named it. And it was pretty much just something that had came to me. Just like everything else, the word universal love, and then it comes out to me turning one into love. And now we have Ancient Light. And as I was working with him, it really dawned on me what I was doing. And it's that I'm doing a multi-dimensional healing construct. So I'm moving through different dimensions, different timelines to help folks, because at one time, some folks may see colors, they may hear sounds, they may experience all different kinds of things. And on the other end, I'm seeing other things too. And what's been unique in the healing sessions, especially after one's been through multiple with me, or even just after two, is that they start to see the same things I'm seeing.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
they're awakening.
Right.
Yeah. It's so you should know that you fixed my shoulder.
I did.
This last, yeah, look, I'm gonna put on Jerry, so look, he's looking like what. So the experience of having a session with Keshia, for those of you who are listening or watching, and you're like you're not really buying into it because it seems crazy. I will say that magic is just science that hasn't been explained yet.
Exactly.
You know, so, but during the session, my eyes are closed. And it's amazing because I can see these different colors, like with my eyes closed, and I can see. And the more comfortable I get, the more I see. So, like this last time, I literally, with my eyes closed, could see her hands moving the colors. Because when we were done, I'm like, "Show me your hand motion. Like, what were you doing?" And she did it, and that was exactly what I saw. I actually also saw the tattoo on her wrist in the colors, and the colors were changing in correspondence to where she was working around my body, right? And so, and this is like after we're doing an after action report, and it's like, all right, I saw this here, and I saw this, and I could sense where she was around me, even though my eyes were closed. And so it's like that's just amazing in and of itself. Even if nothing comes from it, it's just amazing that you could be connected to someone, or someone can be in you like that. But I never told her where I had any pain or discomfort. I don't go in like, yeah, I'm broken here or whatever. And in fact, after the first interview, we were talking, and I was having pain in my side. And she asked me about it. Like, I didn't bring it up, and it wasn't bad pain. It wasn't like I was moving crazy, but I'm like, yeah, she was like, hey, do you have something? And she walked over and she touched exactly where the pain was. And I was like, oh, yeah. So she had worked on it, solved that problem. But my shoulder, I have frozen shoulder, and I've been dealing with it for about almost a year now, and didn't say anything.
No.
And
So for those who don't know, what's frozen shoulder? For those who may not be.
Frozen shoulder, as far as I can get it, it's like I slept on my shoulder wrong too many times, and it's stiff, it's tight, and I thought it was a rotator cuff injury, but it's actually not that. And so the way to deal with it is through exercises, certain exercises. And so I would do those exercises, and it would alleviate the pain, but I never got fully to 100%.
Right.
And after your last session, she ended up on my shoulder working on it, and now I'm about 95. I'm definitely improved from what, you know, from thing. Yeah. So
He didn't
thank you
tell
for
me.
that. Yeah. Yeah.
Clap it up.
Yeah. So it's amazing. And so I was trying to get one of your clients that I referred to leave a message to talk about how much you've helped her.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but she's in class, so I
Okay.
don't think she had the time. But she's absolutely amazed. So if you're someone out there who is like on the fence or it's still not believing it or not sure, I promise you that it's for real. If you're not feeling great for whatever reason, you need to at least entertain what Keshia can do for you, because she's absolutely gifted and talented and can help you out. So
Thank you.
you're welcome. You broken, Jerry? You need any fixing?
That's a loaded question. I mean, I'm broken in many places. I was like, I don't know if she has a plan for all the cracks. Might need like a whole construction site.
God.
So for those who may not know what he's describing the session, how would you describe it for people? So for people that are listening, that they're hearing this in their mind and they're asking themselves, well, is this for me? Is this not for me? And they might have some apprehension, some trepidation. So what could you describe for them or put it into a context so they could actually understand what it is that you're doing that's making the shift for him? Is that possible?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I can do that. So basically what's occurring when I do a healing session is everything is energy. Like everything from this table to that water to everything in our being is energy. And what I do is I tap into that energy. Now, this energy, it carries data, which is information that's listed into our DNA and which is also built in through our emotions, our thoughts, our processes. So basically our brain is like a big supercomputer that channels everything in through our body. Now, what I do is I tap into that energy. I tap into that frequency, and then I see where things aren't flowing. So I call them blockages, and I think a lot of healers say they use the same word too, is that there's blocks. And so basically, if you've been dealing with certain things, maybe you had something in your childhood or something happened with your wife, or maybe something that happened with someone in your life. It disappointed you, it hurt you, and you felt as though you dealt with it. It can create a little block. So when they say that stress kills, that's what it does. So basically, it's like if you think of it as like a big, like with a plumber and a pipe, and then each of those pipes keep getting build up till it gets fully clogged. That's what I go in and do. So I'll see the patterns, I'll see the energy, I feel it. I believe a lot of us have it, especially the older souls that are coming back. Our intuition and everything guides us already. So what I'm doing is nothing woo. If anything, it's more science-based than anything. It's just that because people don't understand it, they dismiss it as woo-woo. So they look for the factual base to actually believe in something. So when someone's on my table, what they'll experience, to answer your question, is they'll be relaxed. Whether they're at home, which I do distant sessions as far as like Australia, California, Netherlands, New York, Florida, all over the world. They're laying in their room, laying in their bed, or they're with me in person and they're laying on the massage table. I don't touch them unless I have to, but not 90% of the time there's no touch. But if I do touch, it's like a pressure point, like an acupressure point, you know? But and then I connect with their energetic body, not their physical body. And then I work through where I find the blocks. And it comes to me different ways. And I clear it. And I work for each. So why it's not done in one session is your spirit it took years to build up to wherever it is. And it's up to what your spirit is truly ready for. So for instance, part of when I'm doing this, it does open someone up to activate their gifts. So the same 5 senses that we have now, like your physical senses, we also have them spiritually. So You were able to smell, hear, touch, and all that wonderful stuff. It's the same way you can do it intuitively. So, for instance, the times that you have a dream. Have you had dreams before?
Yes.
Okay. Have you had a dream where you felt like it was a deja vu, or?
Possibly. I mean, not that I recall, but I've had dreams that were so vivid I couldn't distinguish if it really happened or it was a dream.
Right. So you've had the dreams where they felt super real.
Right.
Okay. How did you wake up from those dreams?
Sometimes confused, like I would have to ask my wife, did I tell you this? Or because in my dream I had a conversation.
Okay.
And it felt like we really had this conversation. So I had to double check with people to make sure what happened was a dream and not like real reality. So I'm sometimes confused about what happened.
Right. Are there times that you went back to that dream to fix something?
Not that I recall.
That you recall. So that right there is your third eye, so to speak, your brow chakra, that area where you're intuitive. How about, have you ever thought of somebody and then later on that day you heard from them or you saw their social media post or something like that?
Yeah, that's happened numerous times.
That's your brow, your third eye. So everyone has had some form of experience like that. Or the times that maybe you went into a room or you met somebody and you felt like, when you went into the room, you felt like, no, this isn't where I need to be right now. That's like your clear senses. So that's your spirit energy just sensing the room.
Right.
Okay. So when we do that, it does start to activate people. What has happened, which why a lot of people have lost faith, which is why we need the science to believe what I'm saying.
Right.
What you hear about Brandon telling you about Keshia Martin is that it's because a lot of people have gone to church, they go to their faiths, or maybe they're atheists. They don't believe anymore because they've been lied to through so many things.
Yeah, I think I let me interject. All right. Yeah, so I also believe that we're just too distracted.
That too.
We're not meditating. We're not driving. Maybe we're running an errand. We get in the car. We immediately turn on the radio. We're listening to something. We're always distracted by something and we don't have enough quiet moments to listen to that quiet voice that you hear that is telling you, like, stay your ass home, or you should do this, or we're just distracted. A friend of mine just posted that yesterday that she had her cousin just kept popping up in her head. And she's like, oh, I'm going to give her a call. I'm going to give her a call. And then she's like, I'll give her a call tomorrow. And her cousin died the next day. She didn't even get the chance to talk to her. So, and I just, one of my personal rules now is that if someone comes to mind, I'll reach out to them.
I always do it.
Just I call it a welfare check. I'm just giving a welfare check. If they pop into my mind a lot, so encourage you guys to do the same thing.
Definitely.
So
I do that all the time. I'll text, you okay?
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, that's just what we have to do. But yeah, that's my interjection. Like, it's important. I say prayer is you asking God for what you want, or your higher power, whoever you subscribe to, Shiva, Buddha, whoever it is you subscribe to. Prayer is you asking for what you want. Meditation is you listening and receiving instruction for what you are asking for.
Right. It's just a simple act of clearing your mind. And that's what I mean by being lied to, because we weren't taught the same thing that Brandon just interjected with. We weren't taught that it's okay for you to be still and wait for a signal or wait for a sign, so that way you can actually get the answer that you've been praying for. We've been taught that you should pray to God, and that the devil's busy, and you're supposed to wait till God's timing, but the devil's busy, so you're like, okay, well, if he created everything, why he make this one busier than everybody else?
Right.
But what's happened is that we weren't taught how to be still, to pay attention to the signals and for our answers that we're looking for. So part of when you're working with me is that we break a lot of that stuff away, because there's, outside of your own emotional pains and hurts that you put yourself through during this lifetime, and that the thoughts that you're carrying that bring more things that are bad into your life, is there's the epigenetics, where that's the stuff that's carried in our DNA through lineages from our parents, their parents, their parents, parents, and parents.
Right.
And people may think of it, as like a karmic thing, like, oh, I'm cursed. But it really isn't. It's actual real science where the things that your parents went through.
Right.
So if they were raped, molested, trauma, any of the
passed
trauma,
on.
Abandonment, it's been passed on in your DNA.
Mm-hmm.
So then you're wondering, well, why am I attracting this stuff if I'm thinking positively? And it's that energy is actually tied into your physical body.
Yes.
It's tied in. So then you're like, well, how did this happen to me at 5? Because I didn't ask for my father to walk out on me. But maybe your mother or her mother's mother went through levels of abandonment.
Yeah. It might be the reason why like black people tend to be scary, as they like to say. Well, because of what our ancestors experienced through slavery, and just the mistreatment. And I think I laugh. You ever see the Miami Zombie video, the Miami Zombie prank, where it's funny. You YouTube it, and they when the bath salt thing happened, and the homeless guy got his face eaten off, these guys did a prank where they would act like a zombie, and they were in Miami. And all the clips are them in bad neighborhoods scaring black people running away. So they were interviewed and they were asked simply like, well, how come it's only black people that you guys did this to? And they were like, oh, we tried to do it with white people. They didn't run. Like they were just investigating stuff, which is what do we see in the scary movies? Like, they hear a noise, almost go investigate. Let's see what that is, whereas we're out like, I'm not even playing. So we do tend to be a little jumpier. That's
the rule, man.
I'm not going to check that out.
I'm not going to wait to ask questions. Like, he's running, like there must be something up. That's a clue. So I'll wait until we get to a safety zone. Then we'll figure out what's going on. Like, I don't know why he's running. But you've seen it. Like, think about all the times he was in Philly at the Greek.
Oh my god! It's
like, one person's running. It's
I'm
like,
out.
I don't know what it is, but I'm gonna turn and run. I'm like, I'm out.
That's true.
I almost died one year at the Greek on South Street because they did the running thing. And I remember being on South Street, we're walking and you hear all the sounds of just people having a good time. Mm-hmm. And then it just got silent and it sounded like a flock of birds. We're flying off and I turn around and there's all these people with just sheer terror in their face running down the street. And I knew what it was. And so I almost died because I started laughing so hard I couldn't run and I could barely get out of the way of the herd coming towards me. But yeah, we
like, yo, I don't know what's going on, but better to be safe than sorry.
Absolutely.
God had a sense of humor when he made me. He was like, listen, we're going to make her a 5'1.5" black woman and make her go through all these experiences in her room by herself.
Yeah.
I just thought about it. Like, I had another epiphany. I was like, wait a minute, that was a lot to go through with all these, considering our bloodline,
This is true. So I have a question. Mm-hmm. And that question is, can you work on people without their permission? Like, let's say you have somebody in your life that is like, they got issues and they need to be unblocked, but they're not going to go for it. Would you be able to tap into them, like, and do some work remotely without,
If there's... Okay. The answer is without permission. Now, here's there's like, it's like a contract.
HIPAA. Yeah,
here's the contract, okay? So the answer technically is no, right? Mm-hmm. However, if they don't give it to me physically, like where you say, yes, Keshia, you can do it, I can tap into their spirit. And their spirit may be accepting for help. And then if that says yes to me, then I can send energy and it can be received.
Okay.
Yeah. So if their spirit wants it, then that helps.
Okay. And so would you need to be like, how would you make contact with that person? Like, let's just say my neighbor that you know, like, what would you need in order to be able to get the number?
We plotting on the neighbor.
I'm plotting on somebody,
Look,
right?
He's like, we got a special mission. We got a special mission for Keshia.
I don't have to do much. If you just mention the person, then that's pretty much. I just send my. I could just do it from there. Yeah.
Oh, we're gonna talk after this.
Because there's certain people, and then it goes both ways, because sometimes someone can come to me and verbally tell me they want help, but their spirit's blocking me.
Wow.
I've had that, and I'm like, okay, you say you want help from me, but I feel like you're really married to this problem. Like, you inside are scared, or you put a wall up on me, and they might, heel and toe about it for a little bit, then they'll think about it, but you know what, you're right. Because I'm like, it's a 2-part process, where if I'm doing the work, but I'm not, you have to want the healing. So if we're going to like refer back to a story in the Bible, it's like the one lady who went and touched the one that was bleeding for days, and she goes to touch Jesus's cloth. As soon as he touches him, she's healed.
The hem of his garment.
Right, because she had that belief. She wanted that healing. There's plenty of people, and we all know someone like this, where they're married to that problem. Like, they plan on no divorce. It's from till death do they part. And they may feel as though they want the help, but inside they're still scared. They're still shattered. They're still not willing to let go of it yet. So there's some level of resistance. So it goes, yeah. So the internal help is really the permission that I would need. Yeah.
Gotcha.
So what do you do with that person? Like, how do you assist them to get their spirit to connect with their physical agreement?
That's interesting, and I've done that before. Sometimes it takes a waiting game, but I say it just like I said it with you. Like, I would address it to them verbally. Like, you know what? You're here. However, there's some part of you. And then I will go through coaching to help them through that, because sometimes it's a fear. Like, maybe it was hurt so bad, they're scared to deal with that, because now if a person has known this to be themselves for the last 35 years and their struggles, like all the pain, the losses and everything, or whatever, maybe it wasn't like all traumatic, but whatever it is that happened, there's a belief that they've created, which is, this stuff has strengthened me. It's made me who I am. So we all might know this person as somebody who's rigid, can't smile, and you're like, oh God,
They're just toxic.
They're just toxic.
Right.
But to that person, they're functional because maybe they're professional. They've made it well financially. They're doing well, and to them, this has made them who they are, and they don't know anything different. But yet, somewhere inside of them, maybe they've lost their wife or their husband. They've lost the love. They're looking for that love, and they realize there's something maybe missing. Maybe maybe they've been going to a therapist or whatever, but they're not, because they're not fully certain of what it's like to be happy or to be different, because they've been living this way for the 30-something plus years or whatever. They don't know. So it's a coaching that has to take place, and I keep it very real. I'm very, very, very real with you. And I'm smiling and happy right now, but there's times, all right, we have to roll our sleeves up. I'm like, okay, so it's up to you. It's either you want to be miserable or you want to be happy. Which one do you want? It's either you want that cyst to grow in your body bigger and bigger or you want this. Like there's decisions you have to make, because the choice ultimately is yours. It's up to each person.
I think it's important for people to know that you're a healer, but also a coach that gets them ready for the healing if they're not ready for it. I think that's a good distinction.
Right. And if they're not ready, that's fine with me, and but it gives them, the seeds are planted, and they usually come back around when they're ready. Yeah.
That's cool. So, we're gonna step back from the actual healing session, because I'm a person that I'm not ready for the healing session yet. Like, it might be a financial reason, because you don't do this for free, right? So we want to establish that.
No pro bono healings.
No, not necessarily. I mean, it could happen, but let's just say that I not there, and we can't reach that agreement. So, but I need Keshia in my life. What is the next level back from the Cadillac plan of healing sessions? What could people do? What could I do to be a part of your circle?
Okay, so what they can do to join me is they can come to my website and subscribe. So I have newsletters, and then I have events that I'm planning, whether it's going to be on a social media platform such as Clubhouse, Facebook, or Instagram, where I host live meditations. Now, these live meditations, they're actually infused with the healing, because what I do is I tap into everybody in the group. So if they would like to do something like that, that's probably the fastest way to connect with me. The next thing is that I have my book. So if you're curious about how this all works and how you can relate to it, my book tells the story and how a lot of us have ended up the way we are. So, and I've had a lot of good feedback from it too. And I was scared about letting that book out.
Right.
Yeah. And then next is that I'm creating a group session. So if you register to my site, which is KeshiaMartin.com, then you'll have the ability to know what's coming up. Because right now I do the one-on-one healing sessions, but I've created like courses and platforms to help people through the mindset coaching, and then how to integrate spirituality into their life, as well as infused healing sessions with that. So meditations, affirmations, and all the good stuff. So yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So KeshiaMartin.com is the digital stop that they should take. Now, in terms of, okay, I'm not ready to engage with you on that on that level yet. What could I be doing personally in my day-to-day to kind of help me to be a better person, be healthier spiritually and energetically?
I strongly believe in the morning routine and how you end your day. So the morning routine and your nighttime routine are two powerful things. Now, the morning is so important because it's how it's like when you first turn on your computer or your device. You're setting the program, you're setting the tone for the day. So when you're waking up, taking a couple minutes to meditate, maybe listen to some level of gratitude, and then jotting down the top 3 things. You know, a lot of us have this thing where we have to knock out 15 things in a day. But 3 big things that will make you sleep well tonight, looking at those 3 things, and then allowing yourself to place that in your day where you knock that out first while your energy is the highest. Or is the one thing I would recommend. 2, your nighttime routine, allowing yourself, like cutting off your cell phone or putting it away, cutting off television and things an hour before you're going to bed. Creating a space, whether you're using essential oils, where you're spraying lavender or something to help you rest, putting it on your wrist, or you're allowing yourself a form of meditation just to kind of bring your relaxation, bring your breath down, reduce the anxiety, the tensions of the day, and allowing yourself a nice space to rest. So those are the 2 powerful things that I would recommend.
Very, 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 very nice. Very nice. How are you feeling, Jerry?
I'm loving it. I mean, what she's talking about taps into the state that your brain is in as you're coming out of sleep, the different wavelengths, the alpha state, beta state, theta state. So she's basically talking about priming yourself in the morning and then priming yourself at night for your best peak performance.
Exactly. And then in the morning, by putting yourself in that positive state, whether it's the gratitude, affirmations, or journaling, even exercise, like 5 to 10 minutes of cardio helps with that. But it allows you to rewire your brain from the amygdala. So if you're automatically waking up, checking your cell phone, checking everything that you need to do without resting first, then you're all automatically jumping into the fear or flight stage. And you're now creating higher levels of anxiety, and you're wanting those fixes.
Yeah.
The likes and the hearts or whatever.
Right. The things that give you the dopamine rush.
Exactly.
The dopamine, those likes and everything.
The extra shot of coffee and
the neuropeptides.
Exactly.
Yeah, look at us sounding all like
Scientist.
scientific and whatnot.
It's UD. That's the blue hand education right there. Well,
Here we go.
There we go.
we're gonna cheer that up.
That's right. That's right.
No, but it's. I think what people have neglected and remembering is that mind, body, and spirit is all connected.
It is.
And if one is out of balance, it's going to throw everything else off. So it does good to be great on your working out or your diet if you're not minding what you're intaking and mentally, and protecting yourself emotionally, like distancing yourself from toxic people or toxic situations, because energy is contagious.
It is.
It really is. So it's it's very important for people. Like, just, I think step one is identify what's toxic in your life and put some distance between you and that toxicity.
Right.
That makes a huge difference in where in helping to be healthier. But you really should check KeshiaMartin.com out. If you're on Clubhouse, you should definitely.
Oh, it's popping on Clubhouse.
Yeah. I heard she got it popping. Like, they're gonna call it Keshia's house before it's all over. Right? So, and the social media on Facebook. Just get in touch. I did ask you about promo code or something. Did you think about that?
I did. Peace.
Well, it doesn't have to be the word, but what are you wanting? What are you willing to do for the podcast audience for at least this year? Because this podcast is going to be, it's going to hang out in the ether. So we got to this is 2021. So let's say from now until August. That's your birthday.
Oh,
your birthday
it is.
Party time. So what kind of promo would you offer anybody who's watched this podcast and reaches out to you? What should they mention, and what does that get them in terms of your services?
Okay. If you mention the In podcast, and that you heard from that you heard about me through that podcast and you're interested, I will gift 20% off and access to my meditations.
Whoa, hold on. Say it again one more time. So
20% off.
20% off, right?
And access to the meditations. And my meditations are pretty good. It can help put people to sleep and relax them pretty well. And they're some of them are infused with healing depending on what you need, but it's based on the title as well. So
that's dope.
Yeah.
That's very generous of you, and thank you.
You're welcome.
We really appreciate it. Here at the End Podcast, helping us build. What you want to say, Jerry?
That they gotta remember to say the right codes though. They gotta know the passwords. They gotta make sure they say the End Podcast. Don't forget. Don't forget.
Yes, don't forget. Now, is there anything else that you wanted to share, discuss?
Let me see if there's anything that's coming to me. I keep hearing masculine and feminine energy, but I don't know if we have time for her.
Nah, go. We got time.
We have time?
We got time. No, we ain't gonna mess with the spirits of the show. Let's talk. What you got? Let's see what's going on.
Okay. So how aware are you guys of like the masculine and feminine energies within yourselves, and what do you think about when you hear that?
I don't know. I'm curious. I'm just curious where we're going. Like what?
I would imagine that in past lives, I've been on both sides. I've been either feminine or masculine and different. And that's just part of my spirit, my energy, and so maybe those two are prominently presenting themselves right now. Would that be it?
Kinda. So, so let me feel what's coming through. Hold on. So, like the masculine and feminine energies in regards to how we all connect with each other. So how we allow ourselves to balance this energy is how we can further allow ourselves to reach into a higher state of frequency and closer to the divinity. So the masculine and feminine energy is something that's not prone to just masculine only for men or feminine only for women, but it's an energy that's intertwined in each of us. So you have masculine and feminine energy just as much as I do. However, how we operate, how balanced it is, can affect how we communicate with one another. So what I've learned through all of this is that a lot more women have stepped into more masculine energetic roles.
Okay. Yes.
And it's allowed a lot of men to step back verbally and being connected with women. So now there's an energetic imbalance between the two sexes, between the two genders. So there's some women where they are imbalanced, where they're more masculine in their energy, so they communicate harsher, and in their actions, ladies, you may find yourself operating almost like a single mother, where you feel like you have to do everything, or you always have to be doing something. It's hard for you to ask questions or ask for help with things. So now you're like stronger, more masculine, and then it's almost like, because it's imbalanced at this time, the feminine energy of you is weaker. So she's over compromising. She's always she's almost like the doormat. She's always she feels unappreciated, and she feels like everybody else. She's always supporting everyone else. And this is we'll see this more with women, where the masculine is stronger and she's imbalanced with her feminine energy. The woman that's overly feminine and under masculine, maybe as an entrepreneur, she'll find herself not being able to ask for the sale. Or if she's single, she may not be able to ask for the date, because at the timing she's supposed to do it. So she's constantly waiting and waiting and waiting for everything to happen, but then nothing's coming through. And then how it impacts our communication is that we don't understand how, a lot of women don't understand how to communicate with the men. So if they're in the overly masculine energetic role, then they may be emasculating him a lot faster, and then it creates a division in the communication, whether it's in a marriage or in a relationship or at work, so to speak. Am I making sense?
Yes, yeah.
So what you're saying is women stop punking your men.
I didn't say that.
Wow.
Yeah. And then, so now, like, I was in a discussion where they were saying that men aren't as evolved or as spiritual and things like that. And I was like, I've actually experienced a difference, because I've noticed a lot of men do communicate with me about that. It's just that maybe they don't feel in the roles or in the space where they're comfortable enough to communicate with women more about that, you know? So it creates a level of division, you know? And because this has been going on for so long, a lot of the women are now need to learn how to, including me, I had to go through it, you know? Like, I didn't know that certain, like, I thought if I emasculated a man, it was when we were like arguing, you know? I didn't realize the emasculation could have started from, you know, not accepting something simple that he said. You know, I didn't realize that you guys communicated so differently than us. And then it wasn't until I realized how much it's on television, how much it's in movies, that we're trained to think that men are dumb. And then men are trained to think that, you know, that like we're crazy because we're like, you know, and well, it created like this huge gap between the two of us. So now we have two things going on. There's the women who aren't knowing how to communicate with men, you know, and I know women are not going to like me saying this, you know, but it's the truth, and it's something I didn't want to hear when I first heard it. It was something I was like, oh God, this woman's trying to just like appease men. But when I learned it and I really started to apply it, I seen a difference in communicating with men. And I realized how I was imbalanced with my own feminine energy, and how that had, once it got aligned, I was receiving and taking my rest and taking action in a way that was more in harmony and alignment with who I am. And then as men are communicated differently, I think it's easier for them to align spiritually. Now, what makes it different, like in dating area, is if a man isn't practicing personal development, like dealing with his ish and not and learning how to move past his coping mechanism, so he's not a narcissist. So he is able to tap into his feminine energy as well, and also allow himself to nurture his lady and also nurture himself and work on self-forgiveness and know that it's okay, because we've been taught for so long that it's not okay for a man to reveal his feelings, that if he does that, he's like a punk.
Right. This is true.
So now we have a man who's like, and then once again back into that epigenetics, we have men that are built to be hard. So some men only know two emotions, happy and mad. You know, like they're okay, and then they're angry, you know. And those men, they need that personal development. They need that counseling and that help. And they need that woman, not to nurture him and be his mother, but to understand where he is and allow that space.
To be a soft place. To be a soft place to land.
Right.
Which a lot of women struggle with.
Right. Like when we're balanced in our feminine energy, we give space, like the womb, and we allow that man to do his thing, and he provides that time and that element, you know, which is why they think of the legacy, and they're usually thinking ahead, because when a man is like committed to you, then he's not thinking about what's happening today and your girlfriends and all this other stuff. Mm-hmm. He's thinking about 3 generations from now. So a lot of women may misconstrue his silence to think he doesn't care, when he's actually over caring. He's thinking, all right, well, we have our children, but I need to make sure that their kids and their kids and their kids are provided for. And because of a woman not realizing how to communicate with him, like maybe on a day-to-day task, like taking out the trash, she doesn't realize he's already trying to provide for her. And that if she changes how she communicates and steps more into her feminine energy, she can actually gain more. And which is why we probably see some women who, you know, a lot of women think, oh, you either have to be like a bitch, or you have to be something crazy for a man to want you, or you have to be one of these ladies that has nothing to attract a good high value man, when they're missing the energy within themselves to bring that out in their own man.
Wow. That's like a whole podcast in itself right there.
I'm sorry.
No, it was a lot. It was a lot to digest. I mean, one of the key things you said was personal development. That's
different than the spiritual element. Yeah.
Right. And what I heard in all that is that, you know, people have to work on themselves in order to work on the relationships. Mm-hmm. And then the other part from all of that is there's an under level of trust. So in order for a person to switch between the energies, to balance their energies out, I have to trust this other person, because some people, on your examples of masculine and feminine energy, some people are stepping into energy roles because they don't trust this person to represent the energy role for them.
Like, I point to me.
Okay, let me point to an imaginary person, like this imaginary person over here. This person is like, so I'm stepping into a role that this other person may need to fulfill, because I don't really believe or trust that they're going to do it. I don't want to give away my power or give away something, because I've had experiences in the past where it didn't show up the way I wanted it to.
That's what happens when awareness. So what you have right there explained is awareness. So when someone first realizes what is going on, you gave that perfect description. And what happens usually after that awareness is, then we create some boundaries. And then you end up trying to control how a person interacts with you. Now, what I realize is you can end up controlling it to the point that you're now in a bubble and you can't talk to anybody, because everybody's going to irritate you or do something that's going to bother you. So the inner work, there's 2 parts. There's the spiritual part where you're looking in and you're saying, okay, I'm being a little too feminine, or I'm dealing with myself. So that's when you work on your inner self. But then there's the personal development side, where you're learning how to communicate better with your partner. You're learning when to say, okay, I was wrong here. I could have done this better. And then you change things up. And then for people that are single, now is a great time for you to just work in on yourself and then date, so that way you can learn your triggers, because it's like learning to watch football by watching the game, but you're never in the game. You're always on the sidelines. So you can't put yourself in the bubble. So my single friends, you have to allow yourself to still date, but as each time you come up with a trigger, as you mentioned, like as you're seeing that the person's still working on themselves, it's not about controlling them. It's about like, okay, it's like the stock market. When you see the price go down, you're like, oh, that's a sale. Right. And then when the price goes up, you're like, okay, let me, now I can cash out, right. If I want, or I want to add, whatever you want to do from there. But when it goes down, you're like, okay, I could buy some more. It's the same when you get a trigger. When somebody shows you the ugly side. Now, the stock market, I use that as an example because when we see the price drop, we're like, oh, John, I'm going to lose money. Right. You're really ready to freak out. But it's actually a time that you're supposed to hold on and maybe add more to it.
It's a buyer's market.
It's a buyer's market. But and the same with the dating. When you meet a guy that shows you, or you meet a girl that shows you some ugly skin and it's like triggering you, you're like, you know what? Smile, because guess what? It's showing you there's something inside of you that believes this as truth. And it's really a good mirror for you to look at, for you to clean out the rubbish in yourself.
There you go, because you attract what you are.
Right.
In a lot of ways.
Yeah, and your coworker or the person at the bus stop wouldn't irritate you unless something that they did triggers some form of truth inside of you. Maybe it was a belief that you picked up. Maybe the way they were gnawing their teeth, it reminds you. You're not consciously thinking of it, but maybe it was the time your parent beat you when you were 7 because he was gnawing his teeth the same way. I don't know. Or maybe an orange wall. When you see the orange wall, it reminds you of a bad time when you found out your grandmother died. It's right. Something like that.
I have orange walls. I have orange walls in my house, and I was talking about painting them. She just slid, that feminine, masculine, evil energy over there. No,
it's all love.
I know it's all love. I know. What I heard from at least the first part of what you said was that people need to have more empathy, more patience, and to stop projecting their insecurities and what they want and what they need on the people around them, and give them room to be.
Exactly.
That's I remind myself every time somebody pisses me off that very few people wake up in the morning with the idea that they're going to mess up, that they're going to make mistakes, that they're going to do this, they're going to accidentally hit your car, they're going to bump into you. Everybody's literally doing the best that they know how. If they're working off bad information, then of course the result is going to more than likely be bad, but they didn't have those intentions. So it's important to rely on the idea that most people have good intentions and try to work with them to have a better result, and to not take things personally, and to not step on people who have pissed you off. So.
Right, and that you have a choice, because maybe somebody is working with bad intentions, but you don't have to be in that space with that person. It's okay for you to walk away without having to explain yourself, but only when you're strong within yourself can you actually do that.
Right.
And that takes the discipline of facing your mirror.
Like Derek Jackson's wife?
Yeah.
There you go. There you go. There you go. There you go. I was wondering how long.
I was wondering too.
I was like, how long is it going to take for that to drop? In.
Well, wait no more, my friend. It just dropped.
Woo. I mean,
What are your thoughts on that?
Where do we begin? First, I thought he was gonna break her hand.
What?
As tight.
That grip was tight, wasn't it?
That was like,
both
oh my
hands.
gosh, both hands.
I was like, that's number 2 for me was, I don't know if he understands how to control a narrative and optics.
No, the problem is he is trying to. Like, you can know how to do it, but when you mess up, that's when you're humble. And that's when you be like, yo, I messed up. And you just walk. Like, he's trying to keep the car from going off the cliff, but the car went off the cliff. It's crashed and burned.
It's on fire.
It's on fire. You know what? The insurance is already called. They writing the check for the new car.
It's like doing too much. He's doing too much.
He's doing
way too much.
This is the moment in time that he just needs to back away and turn off the cameras, turn off the lights,
still,
and
right?
be still.
Be still. Yeah.
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 I don't know if he can recover from this.
I believe he can.
I don't think he can. And here's the reason why. Because it's one thing to provide advice and provide it in a way that's like, hey, these are my thoughts and whatnot. But from the clips that I saw, there was always a lot of venom and vitriol. And hey, nigga that cheat on his wife, he just need to let her go. Like, there was this like holier than thou component to it. So that makes it very hard for the average person to then be able to go back to someone who was so ignorant and so aggressive with their views and so he's just ignorant, angry. Like, he's a sociopathic narcissist. Like, that's what the problem is. So we can't unsee that. I don't care how much of good advice he gives at this point in time. You can't see it, and he's not humble. He's demonstrated already that he doesn't have enough humility to change his course. What I saw in that video,
Personal development.
Yeah, personal development.
Personal development.
What I saw in that video was him holding her hand with both of his hands, and if you noticed, her arm was to him. The arm, it wasn't between the both of them, or his arm towards her, which to me says, this is all about me. This is all about me. You're basically, the body language says it all. And her, and how she was acting and whatnot, she looked like, yo, blink 3 times if you need me to call, come and get you.
Facts.
Safety alert. Like, give us the signal.
Yeah.
What's the safe word? Like, it was like one of them, like, TV shows, Law and Order. Like, just tell us the word, we gonna bust in.
Right.
Potato salad.
Yeah, no.
We got the word. Let's go.
Right. What is it like? You go to the ATM and you put your pin in backwards. It means you're getting robbed. It's the same thing. So I don't know. I mean, anything is possible, and people have short memories and whatnot. But the ugliness and just the response that people have had to him right now.
A lot of people are hurt.
Yeah.
A lot of women are hurt by it because they were believing in him.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But his wife, though, yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I talked to my wife about it. Like, there's no way in the world I'm gonna let you go on the bonnet on the Facebook Live. Like,
but her no bra on, but
it's like, it's not gonna. I just can't do it. I just couldn't do it. I couldn't do it.
Listen, it is.
In all black, that's the sign that she's depressed. That she's like she's just going through the motions and maybe doesn't have.
It didn't. The video just didn't look right. It just looked like, did you give much thought into this?
Right. Regardless of the clothes, though, her eyes is what I was looking at.
Right.
That she seemed a bit lost, but at the same time, it seemed like she cut a deal with him. Like, okay, you're gonna make this book sale. We're gonna cut this money in half.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna go this. Yeah, but I don't know if she knows which way she's gonna go. Then dealing with him.
She covered him.
She's covering him.
She covered him, and the sad part is that while she's covering him, he's supposed to be covering her, and he simply exploited her.
Right.
And that's the part.
Prime example of the masculine and feminine energy imbalance,
right.
Because she's being really like weak and over compromising with him versus standing her ground and being like, even though she said she did that in the past, if you're over it, you wouldn't have came on looking like that.
Yeah.
Listen, Derek Jackson, have all the seats. Have all the
Well,
seats.
he is in his front seat of his car.
Oh, I already did a thing.
The reaction video to his video.
This Negro did a reaction video to his video, but did it in third person.
I saw that.
And in the end, tried to resell himself like,
no personal development.
Yeah. Like the line that even though he did wrong, he gave good advice. So he's really trying to save his career, which part of me is like, I get it.
I get it.
I get it. Like,
Mm-hmm.
if this is how you're making your money and whatnot, you have to do what you can. But it just shows you how much of a sociopath he is, because he's not even smart enough. Oh, the battery ran out. He's not even smart enough to know how to work it. To just be like, yo, I spoke from experience and I was projecting.
Right.
I was projecting what I was doing out to you and onto other people. And hey, I'm sorry,
Exactly. If he was personally developed, he wouldn't have been a narcissist. He would have realized the pain he inflicted on his wife. Everybody makes mistakes,
Right.
And him, when he used to do some of his talks, I fell off of him years ago because I was like, he's too angry for some of this stuff. Like, he's just an angry man. But if he had done that, even in this year of sabbatical that he says that he had, him and his wife had, he would have came back to his fans apologetically. He would have humbled himself and be like, you know what? I've misled all of y'all.
Right.
I got lost in the sauce. And then he would have been straight up with what everybody's seen, and I think people would have still respected him and liked him, and these people are still going to buy his book, but he wouldn't have to do so much damage control had he just kept it real with his fans and talked to the fans, and not like, I still got it all together. Look, me and my wife are going to work it out. We have a book. That's how much we got it together, type of thing. I think that's what threw everybody.
Oh, keep going.
I think the mic went out.
The power, you unplugged the power.
We can still go on. It's on the cameras.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I think that's what pulled. That's what created the separation between the fans and everybody else.
I mean, I believe there's always a possibility of recovery because I've seen too many people fall and come
That's
back.
true.
Jim Baker's still on TV. Jimmy Swagger's still on TV. So it's like,
Yeah, it's just a moment in time.
There are always going to be people who still buy the records.
Yeah, and if he ever reaches that episphany, and he speaks from authentically, I think that he can recapture people.
Yeah,
But it might take some time because
he's gonna lose a
lot first.
He's gonna lose. Yeah, he's gonna lose the people. Some of his market, some of his fans or followers are gonna drop off. Like, I barely knew the dude existed until this week. I mean, I do recall that I guess there was a video that popped up maybe a month or two ago of him speaking on John Gray, and John Gray's wife came back at him. I think that was
John Gray.
The pastor. I don't know. I guess he was with Joel Osteen. I don't know. He's the guy that brought his wife a Lamborghini. He's a preacher guy.
Oh, okay.
He wrote a couple of books or something too, and they were having him and his wife were having some issues. And I believe that Derek Jackson had spoke on their situation, and then John Gray's wife came back at Derek Jackson instead of John Gray responded. His wife responded for him. So that's the first time I ever heard of this guy. Then all of a sudden, it was, he was all over. It was like, oh, here's another guy, relationship guy, who's out here doing the exact same thing that he was complaining about.
Yeah. If he, like what Brandon said, if he had just taken some time to go back and just retreat from all this everything and just think about how, even if he just read all the comments and just take in how it affected everybody, because he had created a belief to make women stronger, thinking that these men are blah, 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 blah. And he defined it. And now he had to face his own definition, and he didn't face it. And I think that's what people are most upset about with him, because had he faced it, I think he covered it. And I'm hoping I'm not coaching him how to get his more. I don't know. If he ever watches this.
It's what they call a come to Jesus meeting.
Yeah,
he needs to as you mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
He needs to look in the mirror.
Yeah,
because
into the mirror.
That's
why he was angry.
It's always the guy. I won't say the guy. It's always the person who's the loudest about a certain issue, who typically has that same issue like that in themselves. Like they don't. They're always barking about blah 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 blah, and it's like, oh, well, that's your thing. That's the thing that you got. You're mad about the thing that you got.
Yeah, it's like the politician who's anti-gay, and then he gets caught in the bathhouse.
Ted Haggard, right?
Yeah. It's always what really bothers me about old Derek Jackson is how
I knew he was going to get it from men.
No, but here's the problem. Here's my issue, and Jerry and I plan on doing a show just talking about identifying poor leadership. You know, identifying people you shouldn't follow. Like, what are the telltale signs? Now, I didn't know who he was,
right?
But without seeing or knowing what happened, I looked at him and I'm like, yo, this dude's a whole jerk. Like, this is not somebody anybody needs to be following. But the fact that he blamed his that he strayed with because he wasn't as close to the biblical sense of God was a problem for me, because what that tells me is that the only reason why you do right is because you're for fear of wrath from God, which means you're not really a good person. You're only as good as the person watching you and the circumstances. But as soon as you feel like you can get away with something, boom, you're going to do whatever it is. So you're not a good person. And you trying to hide behind religion and spirituality, actually just religion. Just religion. And blaming your straying from that for what you did told me all that I needed to know about this guy. He's not a good person. So like, I don't wish bad on him, but I don't want him to be able to rebuild a platform and continue on with that stuff, because he's not deserving of that position. I don't care how good or his information is or his perspective is, because clearly he's using it for wrong. I mean, his wife, she's abused.
She is.
She's an abused woman.
Yeah, and she doesn't know how to get out of that space, no matter what everyone says. Like, I've heard folks say, oh, well, doesn't she have friends? And I'm like, well, you have to look at it like the preacher's wife after a while. Now there's like this persona where everyone believes that they have this happy life. They have this whole thing going. So she may not, she had lost her voice years ago. And just because they've been dealing with it for a year doesn't mean she's healed.
Right.
And everything's going on. Because just like how we started this podcast, it took people years to get where they were. It took her a couple of years to find a man like that, which happens to be not that great. You know, well, I don't know. I can't judge the man like that because I don't know him.
Go ahead, judge away.
Okay. Well, from what we see, yeah, he's a narcissist,
Right.
And for him to treat her that way and not care, even like publicly, he's like, all right, well, we got to save this. We have to save the money, And that's pretty much what he was doing. And when you look in her eyes, regardless of what she's wearing all black. She's a functional depressant person. And she doesn't seem like she has an outlet. And now, if she's an introvert, she probably doesn't like all this limelight and then is negative of all things. It's not like he's been showcasing her while,
Right.
Anyway, we just
putting her through it. Yeah. Sorry.
No, we're gonna.
Sorry, Miss Jackson.
Oh, Keshia Martin.
Pleasure.
It really was. Give out your contact info once again, and what happens if they mention the In podcast to you.
All right, you'll get 20% off if you mention the In podcast with Keshia Martin. And you'll also get access to my meditations, which will help you connect. I'll work with you with your personal development, as well, of course, your spiritual and energy healing. And how you can find me is through my website, which is KeshiaMartin.com, which is spelled like Keshia, KeshiaMartin.com. And I'm also on all the social platforms between Facebook, Instagram, Clubhouse, Pinterest. I don't really tweet, but we're on Twitter too. As the same name, Keshia Martin.
All right. Mr. Poe.
All right, folks. Glad to be back in the building for another episode. You can follow me on all the platforms at jerrypoe.com, and also at jerrypoe on all social media.
Yeah, if you want him to speak to your people, he's the man. So don't miss out on that. At DJ Silk on Instagram and all the social medias. Mixcloud.com DJSilk/12. No, gosh, let me start that over. So Mixcloud.com/DJSilk12. So if you want to hear my mixes, because I do spin records sometimes, so I have mixes on there. But yeah, add DJ Silk. And make sure that you follow the End Podcast on Instagram. The End Podcast, and share this episode, please. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, because it matters. It really does matter. So until the next time, you guys be safe, be well, be blessed, and don't trust anybody that spells their name Jackson. Okay? All right. On that note, we are out.
Shots fired.